You boys know what's about to happen to you. You leave now.
Some consider these traits to be toxic, such as undesirable in the men of today. We consider these traits such as these not only to be desirable, but to be appreciated and celebrated. Welcome to the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, hosted by and Reina Creole. Welcome to the safe space for the toxic male.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, and of course, with me is my wing woman, of Positive Fandom and the Burnett Work. And this, of course, is the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, where we appreciate you, quote unquote, toxic men. They call you toxic, they call you misogynist, they call you whatever. But the real threat is traditional masculinity. And we call that nonsense out here on this show. So, how are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing well, Lorena. Looking forward to talking more about these perceptions that people have a literal fear of this idea of how their children are influenced. And it is work for sure, being a parent and trying to figure this out. And that's what this article is about someone who is terrified that their child will turn out the wrong way.
Exactly. I mean, this is just me, but when I would go to movies or my mother took me to movies or whatever, she wasn't like, oh my God, what if you become, X, Y, and Z? It was entertainment. And, if there were some things that she saw in it, we'd bring it up to like talk about because she was trying to figure out what it is that I saw. That's why when it says PG, parental guidance suggested, that's what that means. It means guidance. But unfortunately, it seems like the guidance is starting to turn into indoctrination. And we've seen it lots of places, but considering how popular the Barbie movie has been, it seems like a lightning rod for this type of discussion that's going out there. Oh, I don't want my son to be indoctrinated into toxic masculinity, so I must drag him to things to change his mind. Okay, not for nothing, but I can't see any boy going to a Barbie movie unless his mom and his sisters said you got to go anyway. I don't I not to be sexist, but I will. I just don't see it.
I 100% agree. And honestly, I just don't believe that many men would even take a second look at this. They'd probably be like, Barbie, what's next? Like they would just laugh at the notion of having to go. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with these dads and boyfriends and parents of, let's say, children who want to see the film going, but a lot of them don't want to see the film, but they have to go because they're going with their kids or whatever it is. But I just don't really see men generally interested in this. And something that's okay. Certainly not going to judge any man who isn't interested in this, but I really don't believe that there's an incredible amount of men who are like, yay, the Barbie movie. I just don't believe it, Lorena. I don't believe that it's true. However, we are seeing people, like us reviewers who look at entertainment analysts looking at the film, regardless of whether they're male or female. And so those guys almost have to go and see the film if they want to review it, that is, if that's what they want to do, right?
Exactly. Because it's like you have to go out there, you have to consume this particular media and come away with an unbiased, or at least you try to. And if you have a bias, you admit that of, consuming and letting people know about this particular type of, entertainment. Like case in point, with John Wick 4. I am not the target audience for John Wick 4. I just happen, of course, we both do, happen to love the John Wick movies. But that is skewed towards a male demographic. It is what it is. It's a male demographic slash date movie. Pretty much is what is what it is. And with the Barbie movie, the demographic, it isn't young girls, it's tweens and whatever. We'll say approaching infinity. We'll put, we'll put it like that. That is the demographic. So I won't I'm not surprised given the state of entertainment and our culture at this point of time where you get this article from, of all places, the Huffington Post. And I can't remember if I saw this on Clownfish TV or Yellow Flash. So I'll give y'all both credit for bringing this article to my attention. The title says, I took my 15-year-old son to see Barbie because I'm worried he could become Ken.
Yeah, and that is very interesting. I think that what really makes me raise my eyebrows to this is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with Ken in this film. That's how I look
Yeah.
at it. I think he's a great guy, and he went through different things. He even has his own solo song, which went #1 in the UK. Certainly, there's nothing wrong with Ken, and certainly, in a way, I'm almost hoping that this isn't being used as a vehicle to say, I don't want my child to ever make mistakes or do anything wrong. We know that's not that kind of world. I'm not perfect, and neither is anybody else out there. So we're
Nope.
all going to do things that we may say, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. And that's okay. And I think, for me, I see a lot of that in this film. Like, that's not nice. That's not right. Why are they doing that? I think pointing that out is interesting. But I also think that's very interesting is that they did some kind of an odd poll a few years ago. I guess maybe it doesn't matter anymore. And I don't remember the researcher that did it, but they asked teenagers, do you care about what your parents say versus, like what you see in a movie or whatever? And most of them said that they care more about what their mom and dad have to say. So, I don't think that the movie necessarily would be something that, her son would see and say, well, what are you thinking? Please don't say you want to be like Ken. I think that there's good and bad in a lot of this film, and it's pick and choose. The discussion that you said, Lorena, that you're going to have with your kid after this, that's more important than anything else.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why when I hear people say, oh, I'm not going to take my kid to this movie, as a parent, of course, that's definitely your prerogative. But should you decide to take your children to see this particular movie, use it as a very teachable moment. Find out what they're thinking when they see the film. But to get to the second, the second second line, as his 51-year-old mother, I don't know why it was necessary to point out her age, but go ahead, girl, strap that shoe on his strut. I'm painfully aware that my son is merely 6 years away from having more rights in America than I do. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I have a problem with the first part because I don't think any woman should give her age, but that's just my thing.
Me both.
Say, like as his mother, as you obviously know, I must have had him when I was like 12, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you must have been. God, I don't want to, I'm just being honest about it. Yeah, you must have been super young, and I think that it's very negative and not hopeful for the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't exactly know how any of these laws are applied, depending upon what state you live in, and what you have and what you don't have. It's very presumptive, and under the law, we all have the same rights. So the question really is this lady is interpreting it a different way for her. And, I almost hope that her son wouldn't become radicalized from this type of thinking. It's okay to tell him, well, they voted against it or they voted for it. And sometimes legislators vote for and against things for particular reasons. Doesn't necessarily mean they're trying to restrict your rights.
Exactly. Exactly. We all have, equal standing under the law, ideally. That's what we're supposed to. That's what we're supposed to have. And what I don't like about this last sentence, and I'm pretty sure you kind of feel this way, the same, is instantly sets up the gender war without, the first shot is that first paragraph, and then the second shot is the follow up to that. So it's we're going to go with this gender war, and I'm actually going to, granted, it's supposed to get your attention, but at the same time, you can clearly see that that's exactly what it is. Not, my son and I saw this movie, and I saw some things that I wasn't too sure about, but we had a discussion, and this is pretty much what we came to, sort of like a meeting of the minds. But this doesn't seem like this. This pretty much seems like, oh my God, I do not want my son to turn out like Ryan Gosling's character. So I'm going to take him to this movie because I don't want him to turn into that. It's like,
Wow, does her son look like Ryan Gosling? My gosh, she
I don't know.
stars. And you know as well as I do, Lorena, that he probably couldn't take his eyes off of Margot Robbie or
Oh,
many
heck no.
other beautiful women in this movie that even I was like, wow, Issa Rae is so beautiful. Dua Lipa is so beautiful. The list kept going on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, maybe men could see this if they're just even interested in seeing these beautiful actresses and actors. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do stuff like that all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if that might have been one of the main things he focused on. And there's nothing wrong with that. So now you got to go ahead and take away the fun part of it for him, because you're not thinking about any of this stuff when you're 15, I imagine. At least I hope not. I hope it's not a situation where you're like the girls at that table. When I was in high school, none of those issues mattered to me. I was spraying my hair up with as much what's that spray, hairspray? You know the one.
Aquanet.
Yes, as much Aquanet as possible. That's all I cared about. So, nobody was doing this political issue thing. It was more of, well, whose concert are you going to, and all that sort of fun stuff. I don't want it to be like one of those people at the table, which I'm concerned about, although one of them admitted that she loved Barbie. But even so, we don't want him turning out like that. But there's this sense that what's being kind of what he's told may or may not be right. I think he has to make the decision himself. He's 15 and he has to live with his mother, but you want him to grow up to be an independent thinker too. So she's sharing these things with him, but I don't know. I mean, at the most, as a parent, you just want your kid to be healthy and happy. I don't know whether this is even the right choice for him. Who knows? Maybe he wants to live his life another way, Lorena. How could you guess the way your child would want to live their life as an adult or turn out?
Yeah, right. You can't really predict that. What you can do is, try to give them as much guidance as possible. But what you aren't trying to do, and like we were saying, is indoctrinate. Your children need to learn how to make their own decisions based on the best information that they have, so they're able to function as an autonomous adult, not worried about, well, I'm supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to do this. And just from like looking at these couple of paragraphs here, first, of course, he's like the normal stuff that parents would be worried about. He's got a learner's permit. Man, I hope he's not going to crash the car. He's in sports. He went on his first date. He's going to be a sophomore. He's on his way to becoming Ken on Venice Beach, as played by Ryan Gosling. It's like, and what's wrong with it? It sounds like the typical American teenage rite of passage. I mean, I don't know if it was the same for you, but getting that driver's permit, if you played sports, you wanted to be recognized, you wanted to, break the record, you wanted to have people at school know who you were, you wanted to date, it's just one of those things. You want to be, that type of person. You're starting to like find your way around. But listening to his mother, it's like something, looks like it's something to be feared, something to be despised, and something to be controlled. Because she goes in talking about, well, 6 years away from having more rights in America than I do. Oh, he's got a modest college fund because of grandparents. We were able to save some money. And what did they say? He might arrive on a relatively level playing field with Gosling minus the frame and the 8-pack abs. He will have bodily autonomy, a privilege I lost. And now they bring Roe v. Wade into it. I don't see why that particularly is applicable. And not to get in hot water, but I will say it anyway. You have the privilege. You just maybe will have to go to another state.
Lorena, I don't know about you, but there's no such thing as body autonomy when we were growing up. You always were like trying to emphasize your figure. I mean, this was something that was huge. I mean, there was padding, there was stuffing, there was all sorts of stuff that we did. We wanted people to look at our figures and keep looking. So I'm just very confused by this. That notion of autonomy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would you want body autonomy? The whole point is to attract the opposite sex. So if you have body autonomy, I don't really get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. People are going to look at you as a woman, and men are going to look at you, and men do make decisions as to how you look, as to whether or not you can have children and things. They've done all sorts of research studies about this. And for the most part, I guess she's referring to maybe the notion of whether or not she can do what she wants to with her body. And there are enough places in this country, especially for, let's say, a woman in her 50s, where she can go and do whatever she wants to with her body, whatever she wants. She is not, somebody who, is in a situation where she can, at least not the way she described it. But I just don't believe, I'm not quite sympathetic towards that notion, because I don't believe that she doesn't know what she needs to do when she needs to do it, and can do it. She might be one of the privileged ones. Doesn't seem like there are some issues with her. I mean, what do you think?
I think it's, again, I want to say like generational indoctrination, because usually when I hear, oh, well, I want, bodily autonomy, you have that. There's no one it's okay. It's like, okay, when you're a minor, that's different. But when you're adult, who's controlling your body? Who's doing that? I don't see anyone really doing that. And again, if you're talking about what happened with, Roe v. Wade, there's a whole tourism industry around that. Just saying. So it's kind of like the argument is very very shallow, and it's getting into this political area. And it's one of the things that a lot of us has been saying about entertainment. We don't want the politics in the entertainment, and it's just like it's just a movie. Can we not do the politics? Like, she'll say, oh, people may think that I'm woke because I say that, and then she borrowed an African proverb which really does not sound like the one that I heard. But at least, she'll say, it's like, yeah, okay, it's indoctrination and it's woke. It's like, okay, yeah. And with the wise elders of the village, well, it doesn't really sound like you're one of them. And it's more of like the collective knowledge of age being passed on, to the children. And let's see. And I'm sorry, go ahead, my dear. I think that you're going to say something.
It sounds like she has a checklist, and she's checking off everything in here. I don't really have a sense that it's anything that's a passion of hers. It's like, I have to just prove to everybody what I've been doing. And most parents are kind of private about the way they bring up their kids, because it's nobody else's business how they bring up their own children. So most parents aren't going to be sharing this stuff. I think maybe there's a sense of oversharing. And when you share, here it is, now you've put yourself up for criticism, and unrightly so. It's your child, it's your business what you want to, teach your children, and they still have to make their own decisions. He's 15, give him 2 years. He's going to have his girlfriend, he's going to have this girlfriend going off to college. This won't even be an issue.
No, it won't. And just like when you were talking about the checklist, here it is, inoculating my son against hate. Then she's talking about all the privileges that she has as supposedly white, cis, female. It's again, it's like we don't really care about all of this. It seems more about you than really about your son, you know. And skip over the other stuff because it's pretty much the same thing, just like a check. Like 5 paragraphs in, then we kind of get to the meat of what's going on. So she says movies, like books, invite dialogue, which is true. I wholeheartedly agree with that. As a former high school English teacher, I wish all teachers would assign their students to watch Barbie in the place of summer selections like The Grapes of Wrath. Hell no. Hell to the freaking no.
Not appropriate for children. I'm sorry. I know that people have brought their children. I'm not criticizing you if you have done that. I'm not criticizing any of you. I know what's happened. Your kids saw this and they were like, Mommy, I can see Barbie. And I'd be like, okay, we got to go take them. We have to take them. We understand that. But this is not appropriate necessarily to show in a school setting. Maybe in college. You learn about movies and stuff, but this is not appropriate. I don't think for high school even. I think this is more adult themes, just between, I know it's PG-13, but I think it's adult themes. And I don't think it's necessarily everything that every kid is ready for under the age of 18. But I don't think we're going to see this replaced for The Grapes of Wrath, which is a worldwide problem during the Depression, where people were suffering and starving to death. And I think there was one chick who was feeding people from her breasts, like literally breast milk. You want to compare this film to that? Come on.
Your kids need to learn the classics. They need to learn Steinbeck. They need to learn Shakespeare. They need to learn James Joyce. They need to learn all of that in school to learn what real literature and quote unquote cinema is. I mean, we watched some movies that were adaptations of the book, but no, Barbie, I don't think so. I really don't.
I think it just for me, as I said, the film is really, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But one of the takeaways I think that anybody could learn from the Barbie film is that you can make a film that looks like Barbie lives in this world. And that was very magical. And I think, Greta talks about how she took the film and she was inspired by other films. Lorena, I'm waiting for the Barbie musical on Broadway. It's going to
that's
happen.
coming. It's coming.
I will be there on opening night for the Barbie musical, Lorena, singing whatever songs they adapt, because it's probably not be the songs from the movie because they never do that. But the point is that I think it's a fun entertainment thing. I don't believe that it's necessarily should be included in literature in a curriculum for, let's say, not undergraduates, for high school students and below. I don't believe there's no benefit from it. There's no benefit. I think that this is for adults and just treat it as that. And, I really don't know what children are thinking who've gone to see this, who hear different things and they're wondering what it is. I mean, there really wasn't anything overly perverse, but there were adult themes that children won't understand.
Yes. And I sat next to a mother with her, small girls with her, and a look on her face after the movie was like, I should really not have brought them to this. And the kids, usually at the end of the movie, if the kids like it, they're pretty much clapping like seals because, they're happy about it. A lot of them are looking like, what the heck did I just see? I mean, if I have a bad day at school, is my Barbie doll gonna have like runny mascara and cut her hair off and look weird? But from a kid's point of view, that's what you would think, like, oh my God, I have to be careful if I fall down and cut myself. Come on, my Barbie doll's gonna have blood spurt out of it. That's how they think. So I heartily agree with you. This is not for kids. And when she's saying in here that analyzing the Barbie film is as foreign to my son as reading Shakespeare's comedy A Midsummer's Night's Dream, which was last year in 9th grade. Well, first of all, your son's 15. Still, I don't really see him wanting to go see the Barbie movie. And again, Shakespeare is classic lit. You need to read that. And then she goes on, it requires a guide. Indoctrination. It requires a guide who can explain that Ken's inferior position in Barbie Land was a mere inversion of the patriarchal society we live in today.
It's not
Go ahead, my dear.
I would say it's just oppression. I'm just the way I look at it. is that it's just oppression. So I don't think that that means that if women do it, it's an inversion. No, it doesn't. It's just something that was done that was wrong. You don't have to give it it's not like, oh, great, we're going to show what would happen if it was the reverse. No, it's not a realistic way to describe it. I think that this is what would happen if men were in an oppressed situation. And of course, these are Barbie dolls we're talking about. So, but I don't think it has anything to do with the patriarchy. Why pull in the patriarchy into that? The women were oppressing the men. Let's just say what it is. I mean, at least that's how I look at it.
No, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, because think of it, if we replaced it and we basically said, the Kens are being oppressed by the Barbie. What do you mean? Women can't do that. Women can't be oppressors. Women, it's like, yes, you can. If you want equal rights, you need equal responsibility. And it's, again, using the word patriarchy just seems to be a way to absolve women of any responsibility. And that's not right, and that's not cool either. But it's like, be honest. That's exactly what you were doing with that. Because if that was the case, if it wasn't the case, why use the word patriarchy at all? Why is it even in the vocabulary of Barbie? Why should that even be in there? Why should that have even come out of Weird Barbie's mouth?
Mm-hmm. I kind of liked Weird Barbie, the actress, and she's a famous actress. I can't remember her name. She's done a ton of movies, Saturday Night Live and everything. But she seemed like your friend next door. Just like, I was like, this chick isn't in Barbie world. This is a real person.
Yeah.
And, out of everybody else who's sort of like living in this fantasy land, she's not. She's like, well, I got to tell you how it is.
Yeah. This is how it is. That's cellulite, honey. That's what that is.
Makes that snarky remark about Ken, about him being this nice piece of protein. And I'm like, this is a real woman. This is not a Barbie who's like, oh, everything's so perfect. And no, this woman's telling you how to, she's like, I kind of like that guy. And this guy's cute. And I'm like, that's us.
That's what like a woman would do. Girls are kind of like, oh, he's cute. Okay, you can go home now.
It is interesting what you said, Lorena, about how trying to pull in another, let's say, in a sense, detrimental word, used in a way to show it as in like an excuse for behavior, or trying to associate it with it when it has nothing to do with it, and just let it stand alone. Let the movie stand alone and show this oppression, because that's what was the intention, was for you to notice. Gee, that's not cool. Why are they being treated like they're second-class citizens? Like, because they are. And that, I think that was very bold. She didn't have to do that, but she did. And it's bold. I don't think I would have done it. If I were writing this, I wouldn't have done that. But, I wouldn't have done it. It would have been, I don't think I would have looked at it as something that would benefit anything, but she wanted to show this. And my argument had been that she wanted to show it because she thinks that women are not treating men nicely. That's how I view it.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be
interesting.
It's not everybody's interpretation, but he's so nice. I'm like, why the attitude? Like, why the assumptions that what is he, not good enough to be your equal?
Yeah, and that's what I didn't like. And like near the end, if they could have made that resolution, like, you know what, in the real world, this is what goes on, but this is Barbie land. It's supposed to be perfect. Guess what? We treated you guys like crap. We don't need to do that, anymore. There should have been that kind of resolution. And if there was, I could give her kind of credit for trying to do that. It's just like, it's near the end. It's like it all fell apart. It's like I was waiting for like, this is going to be this great lesson, and it didn't happen. And it's, that's probably what she wanted to do. It's her art. It's what she wants to put out there. We as viewers, we take it in and kind of make up our own mind about it.
I mean, Lorena, like you, I don't think we're winners if we end up alone after all that, because she has a perfectly good man who wants to be with her. So, and at the end, when he kisses her like that, like it's like a very romantic kiss. And it's kind of like, she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, he's going to try because he likes you. I mean,
like,
what's going on? This is a good guy. There's no reason to kind of like even if she doesn't love him, she can still go out with him. Not everybody's completely in love with people that they date. So this is,
Yeah.
I interpret it as her saying that he wasn't good enough for her. And some people had said that it was that he was still growing, but he seemed fine to me. I'd take him as is.
No, he seemed perfectly okay. It seemed like she doesn't love me as much as I love her. And it was kind of
No.
heading towards the territory of, a domestic call on cops or something like that. We started throwing her stuff out and everything.
Isn't he terrible? Like, why they didn't? That wasn't cool. I think he's sweet, and she knows who he is, and it is kind of what we're hearing, where men are afraid to do certain things, and we see it in the film. Like, it's ouch. It's not cool.
No, it's not cool. It's not cool at all. But this line here, when she's talking about, I was thrilled to be given the chance to provide that guidance. You took your son to this darn movie because you didn't want him to turn out to be a Ken, and you're like, I'm thrilled to provide this particular guidance. And then she says, sitting in the theater with my son, watching Ken as stereotypical Barbie. I really wish they hadn't said that, but this is what it is. If she wants to have a sleepover, afforded me the opportunity to point out that consent is important and needs to be honored. Okay.
I think so.
No.
Tell me what you think, Lorena. I just want to hear your opinion.
No, I think this is freaking insulting.
Yeah.
It's because it paints men with this common narrative of, don't be the R word. Don't be rapey. Don't be this. Don't be that's what, because they, like want to take that chance to say, hey, can I stay over? That was implied. We'll say the social contract implied that as a gentleman, you should be able to take rejection. That choice is up to her. Like one of my favorite songs, Baby, It's Cold Outside. Okay. He wasn't saying, hey, I'm going to, force you to stay here. No, he's given her every reason. You should stay here. You should stay here with me. Was it Marvin Gaye? Come on and go with me.
Yes.
And he's trying to tell her everything. Hey, you should stay here with me. I don't want to be lonely tonight. Every freaking R&B song. Okay. I want to say up through I'm dating myself, up through the Jodeci age. All right. They're basically putting on the charm. There was an art called the art of wooing, okay, which had to be done. You had to use, your smarts, your charm or whatever. It wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to grab this chick and, do what I want. That was never the case. So this whole thing about consent is important and needs to be honored. It's like, we already knew that. It seems like you guys don't know that. And if you're talking about consent, it's like and again, this is an adult, this is an adult theme.
Yeah. Adults don't need to learn this. This is something that we all know. So it's not, I don't think it was a good example of consent. He was perfectly polite. And then when she wanted to come over, he, it was like right back at you, zing,
Yeah.
That kind of felt good. It kind of felt good because it was like, oh, okay, now the shoe's on the other foot. And it's a similar situation. Why did she want to go over? Well, I don't think it was because she just wanted to be friends. I don't think so.
No.
So, I think there was more to that. And she was maybe being dishonest in regards to having him around and took that for granted. That's what I think that was about. But, I don't know.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Let's see this. Oh, there's so much to darn unpack here, folks. Don't be surprised if we wind up doing a part two of this. We discussed how the frustration Ben Ken feels at being left out of the fun in Barbie Land mirrors how women and other minorities feel in America today.
No.
Okay, can I?
No.
First of all,
no, you don't know how we feel. So.
No, you really don't. It's like the first like couple of words, okay, because that was part of the comic relief. How Ken's being left out. He's like, I don't want to be left out the fun. And you could tell that's what he felt. So that was actually funny. But trying to tie that into how women and other minorities feel, who are you to speak for everyone else?
I don't feel that way.
No. I maybe this is just me. I'm pretty sure we saw the same movie. There were a lot of different looking Barbies in this movie.
So good. Oh my God, it was so good.
You had white Ken, black Ken, Asian Ken, Hispanic Ken. What was it? What was the other guy's name?
Was pregnant Barbie.
Yes, there was pregnant Barbie.
And disability Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure if that's her name. There was, I wouldn't be surprised if they had vitiligo Barbie in there. She's probably in there. There was Dr. Barbie. You remember the flying woman, the pilot? And then there was one in space, and she's like, "Oh, space!" And I'm like, yes. It was just so. Come on.
Yeah, that's so disingenuous. I see you guys in here. I see DK Greek is in here. I wanted to say hi to you guys before we moved on. This is Hail Lorena and her. And we have Ski Z75, which says, hello, lovely ladies. It looks like Bosco scenario.
Oh.
Yeah, good seeing you here, my friend. Good seeing you. Yeah, I'm like, Barbie, the dolls have been diverse for freaking decades. So I don't understand where the heck she's getting this from. I mean, I had made a mistake. I was like, well, they've had black Barbie dolls since the 70s. And somebody says that actually it was the 60s. I'm like, what? My mind was blown. But we pretty much knew this. Knew all of that.
Yeah, and you were kind of in the right area of time. You know, I think they might have been late 60s, early 70s or something like that. They had the first black Barbie, and she's a beautiful doll. She looks like a model.
Oh my gosh, she's so pretty.
Oh gosh, such a good looking Barbie. And when they showed the picture of the Barbie, I've never seen that Barbie in person, but I saw it online. She looks like a real person. It's like unbelievable how cool she looks. So there is no like all of a sudden, you know, I guess maybe there are people watching this and they're like, wow, I never knew there were so many Barbies. I'm like, now, if you collected Barbies, you know that there was a ton of different types of Barbies. And it was controversial in the 90s, like when they came out with the pregnant Barbie and they're like, there's a pregnant Barbie and oh my gosh. And if this happens, what happens? I'm like, well, nothing happens. You know, girls play with baby dolls all the time and we played.
Yeah.
You know, like nothing's going to happen. We get it. You know, it's not shocking, but they had the Barbie who has a disability. She's in a wheelchair. And we saw that in the movie. That in the movie. It was just, then they talked about how some of them were discontinued. And I get it. Like, I get it. But it was kind of a milestone in a way, the different Barbies that we saw. Really very different. And they're like, oh, they're going to have a such and such Barbie. And I'm like, wow, Barbie's really, you know, representing everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody Barbie doesn't represent. So, yeah, I think maybe that's why I think a lot of people can relate to it because she has an example for everybody. So, you know.
And that's the strength of the brand. It's just like basically Mattel wanted the money. So the more Barbies that they produced of different ethnicities, and it was like they were all in the same universe, they were making money. So we already knew that. So that doesn't really, again, that seems like a very self-serving statement.
Another thing that Barbie did, the Mattel brand did, was that you can buy a Barbie for $3 or you can buy a Barbie for $300. It's your choice.
Yes.
So you can go and pick up a new Barbie doll for $3 in Walmart or wherever, and it's a brand new Barbie doll, and your kid can have that, and it's not out of reach. Like your kid can have a Barbie doll, but if you want to get, you know, a different designer Barbie or designed by Bob Mackie or whomever, you can buy those Barbies and have those, you know, your collector's editions. The holidays editions would come out every year. It was a lot of fun. They thought about different price ranges for people, even the ones like you could buy 3 or 4 Barbies in a box. Remember, like it would have.
Oh yeah.
So good. It's so good. But they thought about that. They said, how can we give a parent a choice where they can purchase something and it's more bang for their buck? And I have to give them credit for that, Lorena.
Mm-hmm.
But it has nothing to do with how minorities and women feel. It has nothing to do with that.
No, has zero to do with it. And I have to laugh at this next line here, where it's like, together we laughed about Barbie and Ken's trip to the real world and the Mattel corporate headquarters where only men sit in the boardroom. And I'm kind of just, there are plenty of women who sit in boardrooms. So I'm like, I don't really get this point. And even if there are men in the boardroom, so what?
Yeah. And it was very interesting when she called out, she's like, no, you're CFO. No, you're COO. And it's like, do people know what a chief financial officer is? Do they know who a chief executive officer is? Do they know who a chief, I don't know what the O stands for, the OO, but just right now. But the point is that, yeah, there are many executive titles. But it seemed like Rhea Perlman, who was the creator, was the owner. Like, it seemed like she was the owner, because she was kind of like, oh, what are those guys doing? What are those men in the boardroom up to now? You know,
Mhm.
but
Like,
she
what
was
are they doing?
yeah, yeah.
You know, what are they doing? And what are they up to? They're kind of like, oh, they're just the figurehead of, the company. Just go over there and let us, let us run things. But to continue, of course, I thought it was funny and we were laughing at this. Ken's like, I discovered this thing called the patriarchy. And he's like, I get respect and everything. And he's like, he loves it. So I'm going to have to take it back. And what she's saying here is it's understandable that after his return, Ken leads a revolt and tries to rewrite the Constitution to put the Kens in power. Yeah, I understood that part too. I get it. I'm pretty mad there are only 4 female Supreme Court justices and a female vice president. What does one have to do with the other?
It doesn't have anything to do with it. Why is she mad about it? I mean, she could say it would be nice if there were more, but why is she mad? What's making her mad? I'm like, why would you be mad? I don't get it.
Or she's mad that the whole Supreme Court isn't female. Why is there it's it's just like, why? Is it because the Supreme Court is all female, then everything would be perfect?
Like what
As a,
Barbie mentions, Lorena, exactly like what she said.
yeah. It's like, yeah, they're okay until they start ruling the way that you don't like. But we don't talk about that part. And again, it's the whole gender, the gender war that's here, rather than talk about, it was cool that he wanted to do that, but it needs to be done, within civilized society, so to speak. It can't be, a dictatorship or something, like that. Have that discussion. But again, the anger of there's only 4 female support justices and a female vice president.
Failure. Something.
I'm hearing Star Trek Red Alert,
Oh my goodness. I mean, that doesn't mean anything at all. So I'm not quite sure why that's even an issue, but that's what is she going to tell him? It has to be 5, then it would be more female. How many? There's 12.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's
if
12.
it was 7 and 7 females in there, would that be fair?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if it just so happened to be 7? Would you be like, this is so unfair? There are more female jurors, justices than male justices. What's your answer?
It makes zero sense. And she gets more into politics here about to be voiceless or outnumbered is to be vulnerable. And then she talks about too often it means being unable to succeed in a world where you don't have the same rights or access to opportunities as others. And then we go into the eye of, my privilege. I'm white, cisgender, sexual educated woman, blah, 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 blah. It's like, none of this really is relevant.
And what's the guilt from? Like, why do you feel guilty about what? What do you feel guilty about? I don't get it.
I don't, and I want to. A part of me wants to say it's generational, and I kind of think back to like my grandparents, like stories my grandparents would tell me, or stories that some friends of mine, their grandparents would tell about how hard things were, for them, and the odds were stacked against them. But you know what? They said they kept going, and that was the lesson of perseverance, not feeling bad about where you came from. Some people who feel bad about their privilege, guess what? They threw a ton of money at charities and stuff, but they didn't think anything really, about it. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean, if I don't understand why she should feel guilty. She's doing a good job. She should feel proud about what she's accomplished and just go with it. And advantages, you shouldn't feel guilty about having advantages.
no,
Shouldn't. I don't
no.
get it.
No, it's how you use these advantages. And yeah, I heard about Ben Shapiro setting on fire a Barbie doll. That was stupid, dude. That was dumb.
I think something. I think that he, I didn't watch the video, but I just like saw the picture of him, and he's kind of like in front of the Barbie, and he seemed kind of upset from what I could hear. But as I told you, I didn't watch it, and if that's how he feels, that's how he feels. But I don't think Barbie would be like his go-to film. I have to be honest. I don't think. I think it was going to be touted as a feminist movie because Barbie's somewhat feminist. And, I think I always am interested to hear what men think about the films. A lot of guys are like, oh, it's a nice film. Some guys are like, it was okay. And other guys are like, I hate it, but I'm fine that you like it, and I get it. Like, I get that this is, it really, I think that it's very interesting. I don't know if maybe he just needed to get those feelings out. You know how sometimes you have friends and they're like, I have to vent. Maybe he needed to vent that out, and perhaps how he feels is how a lot of people feel aside from the movie. Sometimes you just have to get this stuff out, and maybe he even feels better after getting it out. I don't know, but
Sorry, I mean to cut down.
no, I'm done.
I would say that if this was some rando on Twitter or TikTok or social media saying, I'm fed up with this, I'm gonna light it on fire and I'm done, I can actually kind of believe the genuineness of that. But when I'm talking about Ben Shapiro, it just seems like if it's a day that ends in Y, he's offended by something quote unquote, woke. And that's the problem that I have with him. Granted, I didn't really particularly like this movie, but at the same time, I'm like, setting a Barbie doll on fire, I don't really see that as something that just it feeds into the narrative, kind of like he hates everything. And then you had some people saying, oh, well, now all conservatives are setting Barbie dolls on fire. I'm like, no, do you know how much mine costs? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not, most people are not doing that. And that was just something that, he might have other feelings towards the brand and Mattel, for all we know. So that's a consideration, but certainly the film has not damaged the Mattel brand in
No.
the least. If anything, it's pushed the merchandise to a point of sellout everywhere, and pre-orders and reissues and all sorts of stuff. And, we're going to see this. It's already made $1 billion, but I think it's going to go even farther. Every little girl's going to want to dress in this Halloween costume. They're like these Halloween costumes for Halloween for Barbie, dressing up as Barbie. I mean, we're going to see maybe millions of women dressed in the maybe it's the cowboy outfit. I really like that one. That cowboy outfit.
I did too. That was cool.
Yeah. So so the merchandising isn't there, and I don't know if he has any kids that like Barbie, but you do know that if he has a daughter, I'm guessing she might ask him for a Barbie doll. God.
Oh yeah, it's like I have zero problem with giving out Barbie dolls. It's like I love them, and like you were saying, yes, Barbie was a feminist icon. She was a what I call a first wave feminist icon. I can do anything, just long as I have the same qualifications, the same skills, I can do the same job. And that's how it was. And it was a very inclusive, atmosphere that was there. And then you get to this particular world, which is being seen as, everything would be great if women ran the world. And I'm like, okay, Greta, you write this, but where's the ever persistent cattiness? I don't see that. They're not really being, honest. And maybe this is just me internalizing stuff. And I'm just like,
yeah,
that's not really how women really relate to each other or interact with each other. It's not always a perfect day. It's like, oh my God, I freaking hate her. Hi.
yes,
freaking hate her.
Exactly what it's like.
We're not talking to you today. We're not going over to you, to your house today. Are you looking at my boyfriend? Are you looking at my boyfriend?
Yes, and look
How
at her.
dare you look at my boyfriend? Like, oh God, look at those shoes. Oh God, those shoes are just disgusting. Ugh. Doesn't she know how to dress? Ugh. I mean, if they're gonna go whole real world, they really should have went that way, and they didn't. But I think the reason that they didn't is because they need this villain called AKA patriarchy, and it's interesting. She says here with this last sentence, and I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about this one. We don't care about Ron DeSantis. Girl, you don't live in Florida, so who the frick cares? She says here, I want my son to fully understand the message that Barbie has emblazoned in front of us, because the patriarchy is real and too many people are suffering under it, and he can help change that.
Oh, it's his responsibility now? Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, honestly, for Ron DeSantis, he's a politician and he's going to do what politicians do, and they make campaign promises. And they do different things. He's going to do that. So this is, I don't really, he can push any agenda he wants to. I'm not here to tell Ron DeSantis what he's supposed to be pushing at, as a politician. Let him do what he likes, because that's what politicians do. So I don't really care about, if the politician agrees with me or not. They have their things. And if I like that, then I'm like, good, it's great. Let's do it. If not, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we have differing views. So I don't really understand why it needs to be challenged. Let him live his life the way he wants to. You could say, I don't agree with that. But I don't know whether I necessarily feel like I have to go up to people with different views and say, well, why do you think that? I don't give a shit. I don't care what other people are thinking. I don't care. You go ahead and think whatever you want to. I'm going to think whatever I want to over here. And, and we can live in peace. But I certainly don't want to challenge anybody with their agendas. I don't care. You go ahead, you run on your ticket. Best of luck to you. Let's all get along here. That's not really me to try and sway somebody over to my side or any. I don't care what, as far as I'm concerned, there has to be different views. It can't be, an echo chamber. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. You vote whatever way you want to vote. And, that's your decision. So I don't know. What if he agrees with Ron DeSantis? What if her son agrees with Ron DeSantis? Is that why she's so into this? I mean, I can get why he might agree with. I could get how anybody would agree with Ron DeSantis.
That is a good point. That's a very good point. Perhaps it's why she's pushing this thing about the patriarchy. Now, granted, the patriarchy was the quote unquote villain in the film, but it's kind of like, what is this when you're saying patriarchy? Because it seems like to me, what I always seem to say is that using the patriarchy seems to be a get out of jail free card for women to absolve themselves of any kind of responsibility for their actions and their emotions and their own happiness, in life. When I think patriarchy, I think of like, I'm not going to say what third world country it is, but we've seen some examples where there truly is a patriarchy that controls every aspect of the lives of women. We don't have that here. So I don't understand why the need to demonize half of the population here. in the US because what?
It's confusing. I mean, it's really a fantasy, you know. So the idea of that, and like I said, I think that this film, you can take away what you want from it. There is no right or wrong way to interpret it. Like, if I'm looking at it from structure wise, I might say, well, this structure is this or that, but
Mm-hmm.
you can take away what you want from it. But clearly, if he's not, I think that if he's looking at this, he's probably thinking, well, you know something, my mom loves this film and I better keep quiet.
Yeah, like, okay, Ma, they're just like, I hate this freaking movie, but
I like Margot Robbie, but I hate this freaking film.
yeah, like Margot Robbie
And
was
Dua
hot.
Lipa and Issa Rae, and I like all these chicks, but the rest of the thing can go.
Because I kid you not, this is so funny. I'm not gonna say who it is, but let's just say this person's son texted him and said, I'm gonna go see the Barbie movie with my guy friends. And the dad was like, what did I do wrong? Why does he want to see the Barbie movie? I said,
Mm-hmm.
the Barbie movie has Margot Robbie in it. It's like, oh, I didn't even think about it like
Mm-hmm.
I said,
and if you're into Issa Rae, it's got Issa Rae. If you're into Dua Lipa, it's got Dua Lipa, and the list goes on and on and on and on. If you're into Americus, it goes on and on and on. There's something for everybody in this. There's eye candy in this film, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that too.
No, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. But definitely what the true issue is, and we'll have to pick up the rest of this at another time, is that people should be able to make up their own mind about entertainment. And it's really not fair to take your son, this is just me, to take your son to this film to use it as a way to indoctrinate him into thinking that it's something wrong with him and it's his responsibility to fix a problem or something that you think is a problem.
It's putting guilt on your children. Oh my goodness gracious.
And that's what's happening so much with young men in this country of late. They're just, you need to take responsibility for the patriarchy. You need to move aside for women because there's something wrong with you. Testosterone is bad. It's toxic male behavior, blah, blah, blah. And we have these generation of boys that are ashamed to be boys and to be young men. And that's something that vehemently needs to be called out.
Yeah, stand up and become Ken. You are Kenough. I love that KENergy. I love
get that KENergy, that KENergy working.
Mm-hmm.
KENergy does not equal misogyny.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So
and that. I like it's Simu Lee, right? I like
Simu Liu. Yeah, I did like him. I didn't like him in Shang-Chi, but I liked him in the Barbie movie.
I think those dance numbers, Lorena, it started to inspire me, and I'm like, I'm ready for the musical. Obviously the stars are not going to go on tour, but it's going to be a cast of different types of people in this, even when they create this musical. And I'm expecting to see some dancing and hey, it's like it's going to be fun. Yeah, he looked so good in this. He was even like, "Bet you can't do that, Ken."
I actually like that, like the nemesis Ken. Like,
yeah, he was good. He looked good. And I liked seeing him dance around. I admit it. I liked seeing all these stars. I always knew they were talented, but this really blew me away. I mean, you could have seen my eyes when I saw all the Kens. Oh my gosh, how can we make that happen for real? But of course it's a fantasy, but it's okay.
Absolutely. But folks, yeah, we talk about this because it's out there. This movie's making like $1 billion, over $1 billion. But definitely the conversation needs to be had that there really is no need to demonize the opposite sex in order to bring some really, really good entertainment out there. So Yeah. Nothing wrong with Ken. Nothing wrong with that KENergy
Mm-hmm.
at all. At all. So folks, we're gonna wrap this session up. And where can people find you, my dear?
Well, everybody, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Positive Fandom, where I do all the parlay and the fandom on Sundays. I have my Sunday brunch show at 10:30 in the morning. And you can also find me doing a show with Lorena on the Burr Network, Ladies of the PGS, at 6 p.m. on Mondays. Right after this show, I'm going to be having a watch party for Operation Mincemeat at 6:15 p.m. Please do join us on Positive Fandom for that. Lorena, you and I, not this Friday, but the following Friday, we're going to be closing out the Outlander series, which has been phenomenal. At least I think it's next Friday, but we're doing a live watch party. It's going to be amazing. I'm pretty sure I'm doing a PGS Tracks tomorrow at 10 o'clock, as well as a Midnight Musings. It's this end of the summer here in the Northeast. I'm just living it up, trying to enjoy it. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And Lorena, thank you for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. I love having you on. Love having you on the channel, my dear. Folks, of course, you can find me actually right after this on WDW Pro's channel for his live show. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'm going to be streaming live from Walt Disney World for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. I'm so excited. I love the Halloween parties at Disney World. There's so much fun. There's so much candy, and it's just a great time. So I'm going to be bringing you with me to that particular event. And Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Oh no, wait, no, not 5. Gotta have myself. 7 p.m. Eastern. My 5K celebration is going to be on my channel. That's going to be there. So many other friends are going to be there to drop in, and we're just going to chill and just have a great time. So we certainly do hope that you guys will come and check out the show. So, folks, as always, we love that you guys check us out here on the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, and we will see you next time. Bye.